What's up, guys? This is Wes with Sincity Tactical, and thank you for joining into the Sincity Tactical Show. First off, we got some news. We partnered with Half a Day Ranch earlier in the week, and we put on a New Zealand ram hunt and had one of my good buddies, Sean Kelly, on the hunt. He's the actual hunter in the video that you'll see soon. That should be releasing here pretty soon. We got some good angles. It's a fun hunt. Not many people get to go hunt New Zealand rams, especially in the desert. That's something that you can see here in Las Vegas at Half a Day Ranch. So check that out when it drops. Should be either tomorrow or within the next week coming up. I'll post something on Facebook to let everybody know when that's going to happen. But let's go ahead and bring in Griff. One second. Let me get this all lined up here. Once again, like I said, never fails, man. Always got to have some type of technical issue right there at the beginning. Love it. Okay, let me get audio in here for you real quick. All right. What's up, Griff?
Hey, thankfully the technical issues are happening in the beginning instead of at the end.
Right, and we got it all dialed in right now, so no issues there. Show's going to run smooth this week, guys, I promise. That was one little hiccup, not going to happen from there on out. So, first thing we're going to do is move right into our patriotic message.
All right, this week's patriotic message is brought to us by John Stuart Mill, an English philosopher. War is an ugly thing, but not the ugliest of things. The decayed and degraded state of morale and patriotic feeling, which thinks that nothing is worth war, is much worse. And with that, let's roll into the two-way news.
The Second Amendment Foundation is applauding the Ninth U.S. District Court of Appeals. Oh, great. That decided to go quick. All right, scratch that. We did have a technical difficulty. It, for whatever reason, decided to skip. So we're just going to talk about it. The Second Amendment Foundation put in an appeal or a lawsuit saying that you cannot stop the process of creating 3D printed gun files that can be put on the internet for people to download if they're interested. 22 attorney state generals had filed to try to make that motion happen, and it was denied. So for anybody out there with a 3D printer and you're manufacturing firearms for yourself, you should still be able to do so. And with that being said, we're going to bring Griff in to talk about this. Griff?
Thank you. Well, I'm a 3D printer owner myself, and if I know a thing or two about the 3D printing community, even if a law such as this did pass, there's really nothing they can do about it. With how vast and wide the internet is and the distribution of information and data, there's no possible way they could ever hope to rein in the transfer of files as such. And it has been ever since the foundation of this country, every American's right to manufacture their own firearms. I know I said this a couple weeks back, but something like this would be just as effective as the war on drugs. And we all know how well that went.
Absolutely.
It's,
So, like, like you said, on the war on drugs and stuff like that, it's not going to be effective. The only opportunity that I believe the government would have to try and fight against this is to do some super hacking, we'll call it, and literally watch and track every single file that's downloaded that pertains to any type of gun part to a local IP address, and then try to SWAT somebody, I guess. But even then, I guess this is where my question leads into, and I do apologize. I interrupted you. I thought you were done at that point, so I do apologize. But my question for you is, and this is more of a devil's advocate debate type of question.
Mhm.
Even if they can track the file and they know where you are and where you live, is that grounds enough to get a warrant to then try to take it from you?
well, I'm by no means a legal expert, and I'm afraid I do not feel comfortable enough to say an answer, whether yes or no. But what I do know is, let's say they do have these super hacking, IP tracing, red flag type of systems in place. How many dozens, hundreds, thousands, or even millions of people that already have these files? What's to stop them from re-uploading them online or put them on a USB and sending them through the mail? We saw it once before when that meme of Beyonce at the Super Bowl was going around, and she said, "Take it offline," or the Pamela Anderson sex tape. Yeah, take it offline, take it offline. Those things are still widely available.
Yeah.
It's like the saying goes, once it's on the internet, it's there forever.
It's the opposite of Vegas.
Right.
What goes on the internet 100% stays on the internet, but everybody still has access to it. The world knows. Right?
Exactly.
You know, the mantra of what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but not really because everybody tells everybody anyways. Yeah,
I've always
so,
thought what happens.
Go ahead.
Pardon me.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was gonna say. I was gonna say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, except for that nasty itch you got from the woman you met at the bar. That
Oh,
usually goes
crabs.
with it.
Yeah, the clap. All right. Anyways, so like he said, we're not lawyers. This isn't legal advice. I would assume, this is an assumption and an opinion, not legal advice, that if it's not illegal to get the files from the internet, which they've now put into place, and you're 3D printing it and you're keeping the guns for yourself, even if they do try to come to your house to take them from you on a federal level, they shouldn't be able to. I might be wrong. Hopefully, we can get some more insight on that over the next week, because obviously new rules are being put in place. So I'm going to do some research on that. But I would assume that you should be okay. I think the gray area or the thin line there is if you're trying to sell them. You would have to register it and go and take it and do a private party transfer through an FFL or something along the lines of that. So, what's up, Jax? Nice to have you viewing. Appreciate it. But that's our Pro 2A news. Sorry the clip got cut short. There was 3 or 4 segments. The first one got cut short, and it looks like Griff has something he wants to add.
Yeah, I just want to wrap up by saying that I will be reaching out to my legal affiliates that work in
That's
the
right.
law field or used to work in the law field and put a feeler out to see what they say about it.
That is right. I forgot you had that connect. So, yeah, that's something I definitely want to know about, and I'm pretty sure a lot of viewers would like to know too. But we are going to move right into our tactical review. All right. So as you saw, for my tactical gear review, I chose the Walker earmuffs, the electronic muffs with the walkie-talkie. Why is this a good tactical gear item to have? Well, on that ram hunt, for instance, by having that, and you have multiple people in different areas trying to close in on this animal, it's you don't want to scream to the next guy saying that you found him or whatever the case may be. Having the walkie-talkie, which definitely does have a push to talk and a VOX, or just automatically you start talking, it sends out the signal to the earmuffs so I can whisper, "Hey Griff, I have him in my sights," and I'm not screaming across the valley trying to get his attention and potentially scare off the animal. So that was a big thing that we had going on when we did that shoot. Secondly, it's also good for medical situations. Say we're trying to go camping or something along the lines of that, break down 2 miles into the trek. We don't have cell phone service. I need to walk back and try to get to a gas station or something to get help. Having that walkie talkie feature, they work up to 3 miles. So as long as hopefully I can get to help within 3 miles, I can communicate with my party back at the breakdown site. So very handy in that sense. Plus the fact that when you are shooting, it dampens the noise a lot. So you can turn it up when you start shooting. It will quiet down the shots, but won't affect the microphone. So it'll come through as if you're just wearing headphones and talking. So you're able to talk while shooting if you need to as well, which could be good in a firefight. If you and your buddy are in a firefight, the likelihood of that happening not very likely, especially if you have headsets on when the said firefight happens. But very handy tool to have. But now we're going to move to Griff for his tactical gear. Go ahead.
All right. So my tactical gear item for this week is a engine assembly lube that normally would be found in a mechanical application. I'm sorry, I think my brain just misfired there. Engine assembly lube is most commonly used when you're assembling engines for your vehicle. It's used for properly sliding in your pistons and other components. It is a very thick, sticky type of grease with a very high lubricity. I personally use it when it comes to my firearms lubrication, as it doesn't evaporate, it doesn't seep outside my firearm like a lot of the oils or other greases do. And I've even personally tested it down to freezing temperatures, and it may thicken up a little bit, but it still keeps a high lubricity. And more often than not, it stays on there until I clean my firearm the next time, which honestly, I'd have better luck guessing the lottery numbers and figuring out when the next time I'm going to clean my gun is. All right. Mhm. My process is any form of mechanical mating surfaces on the gun, such as the slide rails, the trigger linkages, that sort of thing, get lube. Whereas the exterior, I rub down with just a general purpose, almost like a 3-in-1 oil. I've tested very many other oils, such as specific firearm oils and whatnot, that the specially made stuff by like Hoppies or Breakthrough or any of the other big name firearm lubes is that they're overcharging for something that can be had off the shelf at your local Napa or O'Reilly or AutoZone Auto Parts.
Cool. Well, that would have been my concern, right? I like grease. I use Battleborn grease on my guns, but the reason why I kind of looked into this engine assembly lube before the show had started, like earlier in the week, because I wanted to know more about it. And when it comes to conventional oils and things like that, gun oils, gun greases tend to burn up quickly, and you have to re-lubricate. If you shoot too many rounds, you're going to start getting your bolt to jam, things like that. So I wanted to look into that, the lubricity? Sure, we'll go with that. Of the engine assembly lube or even conventional motor oil. And what I found is if you look at how you put it in a car, right, it goes for 3,000 miles or more before you even get it changed, before you start feeling any type of issues. Most people get their oil changed significantly after the 3 months and don't run into issues. So for me, it's internal, right? Internal, so that should mechanically work really well inside of the firearm, but it should outlast your shooting. But of course, you're never going to wear it out because you're going to get home and clean your gun. So I agree with your point, and I'm probably going to switch, because if I bought 1 quart of oil itself, and I'm just talking oil, not even the engine assembly lube, that would last me forever if I was using it to lubricate my gun. And I'm assuming that this Federal Mogul gun grease will also last a very long time as well.
Right. And I started down this road after I was having a conversation about lubrication and that sort of thing with a good friend of mine. Now, this good friend of mine is a retired carbon chemist for 3M.
Ooh.
So he might know a thing or two about this sort of thing. And I asked him, hey, what do you use to lubricate your gun? He said, oh, I just use regular engine oil. Really? Why is that? Well, it's a machine just like your engine. It does the same stuff. It's cheaper and lasts longer. And I swear I had the biggest epiphany ever. But I do want to talk about those Walker earmuffs. I have the same pair myself. And every year as a match director, I help put on the Glock match up here in Minnesota. And me and another match director use them to talk in between the bays throughout the entire Glock match, throughout the day. In fact, throughout both days. I've had nothing but great experiences for them, and especially out of headphones with built-in walkies that are under $100. The price is just nuts for what you get.
That's a great point, and I apologize, everybody out there, that I didn't mention that. You can get a basic set. I have an all black set with the black walkie. Jonna has the black with the like teal blue, whatever little finishing pieces on it with the black walkie. And there you go. There's an FDE set. Oh, that was dope. So there's the walkie piece on the other side. Yeah, that's dope. I like that. And I do believe that Jax also has a set as well. The muffs you can get for like $49.95, sometimes $55. Crazy designs, mossy oak, things like that. You might pay $70 for it. And the walkie-talkie is roughly about $45 as well. So, give or take, you're at about $100 to $120 for a really good set of electronic muffs with the capability of being able to communicate. Not to mention, it has 20 different channels on it, and I believe 30 different sub channels too. So 1 through 20 regular channels, and then you can even break it down 21, 24, 27, right? So that makes it to where you can isolate your channels. But if you're close enough to an urban environment, you might be able to get onto a channel that has communication going across it and get help. So that's huge. And for 100 to 120 bucks, that's worth it to me. I'm protecting my ears, and I'm potentially saving my CYA in the event that something might happen. So good point.
Right. Like I'm yeah, I didn't sign a NDA for this. I helped beta test the 3M Peltor 300 and 500 series. And both of those, which are just electronic earmuffs, start off at like 150 bucks. My personal everyday range use hearing protection are the Walker rechargeable earbuds, and those are like 300 bucks.
I don't have
But
those.
now we're talking about electronic earmuffs with a walkie for 100, 110. That's quite the bargain.
Absolutely. Last thing I'm going to mention on this, and then we'll move into the next topic. So I brought out 4 different sets of hearing protection because I was the RSO for this hunt. So I handed out the other sets. There was a 3M set and then like a Lincoln shooting earmuff. I handed them out so people had protection, and then anybody who went to go shoot. Oh yeah, by the way, that's why there's no rifles on the wall. They were from the hunt. Anyways, whenever I had somebody go up to shoot the any of the guns that I had brought, which are really loud, I had them put the electronic muffs on, and they all were completely amazed. They're like, I could still hear you talking while I was shooting, and when you were up here shooting it, even with the muffs on, I couldn't hear anything. That's fantastic. So, big thing there. What's up, RX David? What's up, James? Thank you guys for joining in. We appreciate you joining in. Also, I want to mention Jax will potentially be back in the next 2 weeks, I believe. So stay tuned for that. I'm sorry, one last thing. And this is more or less pertaining to you, Griff, than anybody else on the show. If you watched the Tac Pack episode that we had that had the muzzle brake that came in the package, the monthly subscription service, actually, we're just going to move into the shout-outs and sponsors right now. The Tac Pack Rex Salientum muzzle brake is not silent. That is the loudest thing I have ever heard coming off of an AR-15. Granted, it was my AR-15 pistol, but it was my 14.5-inch barreled, usually the one that's right there in FDE. Bro, no. That thing was so loud that even with decent muffs on, you were going deaf. Luckily, the walkers made it nice. But that's why I said, anybody who went up to shoot it, I made them wear my muffs, because otherwise you would literally, your ears would be ringing even with the muffs on. So that muzzle brake, I don't know if you put it on anything yet. If you do not take it to an indoor range. You will get kicked out.
Nope, I gave mine away, but I do happen to have a Fur Friends muzzle brake that's fashioned just like a M1 Abrams style brake with a flash or a concussion reduction device that forces everything forward. I used to have that on 7-inch AR. Oh, people did not like me.
Yeah, no. That if I took that to an indoor range, instantly I'd be kicked out. That thing's louder than every machine gun in there. And the concussion, I'm going to make up a video of that too. So Jonna was shooting it. Fireballs were coming out of each side about this far away and about that wide. It was gnarly looking. So that was fantastic. But once again, shout outs and sponsors. Wendy from Sight Shooter. Always want to give her shout out. She's a personal firearms instructor out here in Vegas. She does basics in pistols, some indoors training, some outdoors training while you're on the go training. Check her out, sightshooter.com. Also, new sponsor, Half a Day Ranch. Check them out. Like I said, new video will be coming out soon. And then, of course, Tac Pack, monthly subscription service. Use our code SC Tactical for a free mystery grab bag. And that is all I have for the shout outs and sponsors. Griff?
Well, as usual, all I have is G3 at g3survival.com, the finest leather firearm goods on the market, whether you're looking for magazine wraps, pistol grip wraps, pistol brace wraps, forend wraps, finger loops for your forends, 100% made here in Minnesota out of USA leather. I personally come up with the tooling for them to be able to come out with such crisp designs. And just a few weeks ago, I just submitted a brand new design for them, so please check them out at g3survival.com or at our website at cincytactical.xyz or cincytacticalmn.xyz, and always keep posted for any new designs coming out.
Absolutely. Now, we're going to move into what I think is going to be the best segment of today, the EDC How and Why.
Thursday, April 29th, a prominent YouTuber by the name of Kentucky Ballistics, whose name is Scott, released a video talking about his freak accident that occurred when his 50 BMG rifle exploded. The incident occurred April 9th, when Scott was filming a video of various 50 BMG rounds being shot at a fire hydrant, several of which are slap rounds. The slap rounds have been out of production for a number of years, and as such, this meant what Scott was using was old military surplus, one of which was either faulty or tampered with, causing a severe overcharge. I'll now play the clip of the explosion. It will not be graphic in the gore sense, but it may be shocking. After this happened, his father, who also operates the camera, ran to assist his son. Within a minute, they were loaded up in Scott's truck, hauling it to the city, while Scott kept his thumb in his neck to stop the massive bleeding that was occurring. Thankfully, an ambulance met them halfway into town. Once at the hospital, the staff were able to pack his wounds and prep Scott to be air transported to Nashville, Tennessee, for further treatment. Once there, Scott's wounds were treated, and within a week, he was released to go home. The following clip may not be suitable for the squeamish. Scott's wounds include a broken nose, a broken orbital bone in 3 locations, a collapsed lung, a lacerated jugular, and a royally messed up finger. Now Scott is making a recovery, and according to his video, it is amazing how fast it is happening. We encourage viewers to go watch Kentucky Ballistics' video for full details. And with that, let's go back to our hosts for further discussion. All right, so as y'all have seen, this week we're not really doing an EDC How and Why. We're going to be talking about what happened to Scott from Kentucky Ballistics and general firearm safety. Thursday, he released a video talking about how on April 9th, he had a very severe accident when he was shooting his 50 BMG. And what's very unfortunate is this is one of those safety accidents that Healy isn't all that preventable. It was a overcharged round or possibly even tampered with round that caused his 50 to blow up like that. Unless he either A, didn't buy the ammo, or B, started weighing every single cartridge he buys on a scale, how would he know? And I've seen this sort of thing happen before with people I know. I'm trying to remember, I believe it was 3 years ago. One of my fellow competitors in USPSA, her 1911 blew up with just factory ammo. It was a accidental overcharge. And what's unfortunate is it's Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong, and Murphy has doubt for everyone at some point. I believe this is something that we need to reflect on as a community and be prepared for the worst to happen. Uh, Wes, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, first I want to know, was that round, did it squib, or was it literally firing pin hitting and just the overcharge caused the rifle to blow up?
Um, well, like I stated in the video before it got back to us, to go out and watch Kentucky Ballistics full video, which is about half an hour long, Scott says that he had fired 2 slap rounds previously. The second one was actually still retained in the fire hydrant he was shooting at, sticking halfway out the back of the case, or back halfway out of the back of the fire extinguisher. So, as logic would dictate, first round goes off, second round goes off, which tells us first round didn't squib. Oh,
Yep.
now we have a new bullet sitting in the fire extinguisher, or pardon me, fire hydrant. So that tells us that the second round didn't squib, and it was the third round that blew up, which leads to an almost unanimous decision of yes, it was an overcharged round.
Absolutely. So, when it comes to safety, I mean, this is not something that you can prepare for, right? Except for like if you know that a round is sketchy, you put yourself behind some plexiglass way far off in the distance, and you're pulling a trigger with a string because you know it might happen. But the likelihood of catching something like this is ridiculous, and just not something that is feasible. The biggest thing is eye and ear protection, right? That's basically the best that you can do. I mean, if you could go to the range and practice with your vest on, that might help save vital organs. But as you saw in the video with that picture, he took shrapnel to the neck. So he's lucky to be alive. I definitely feel like something wasn't ready to say later to him. And for me, I mean, it's put safety first. I personally, when I load my magazines, so I guess I'm going to backtrack a second.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I store my ammo. I take all of my ammo that I buy out of the box. I put it into a big mixing bowl. And then I sit there and literally load it one by one, looking at every single bullet. I look for dents in the casing, the bullet itself being ejected out of the casing a little bit, because you can see the little crimp marks on the actual bullet. And if you can see that, I wouldn't shoot that round. That may not be a safe round. And I don't just pick up random ammo from like anywhere. I'm not going to say I found some ammo and go shoot it. I wouldn't trust it. Try to buy your ammo from a reputable source, and then check it every single round when you go to load your magazines. I store mine fully loaded mags. So FBI, ATF, whatever, if you're watching, my magazines, we're not talking about capacity size, is all fully loaded and stored that way. I find that it would be cheaper for me to replace springs and followers than it would be to replace the whole mag completely. So I keep my ammo stored from the things that I've heard, and once again, this is speculation. It's my opinion. It should be able to last in that magazine for up to 10 years without having issues with the spring. Um, it's under tension and being held under tension, so there's not movement causing stress. It's in one place and being held firm. So that's how I store my ammo. But the point I was making is I check every single round before it goes in a mag, and if anything looks sketchy, whatever, there goes 25 cents. But I would rather throw away a quarter than throw away my life. Griff?
Right, and I do want to touch on how you mentioned iron ear protection, which Scott does go over in his video. The end cap of that Serbu, the part that threads into the breech, that blew off and went directly into his right eye. And if he wasn't wearing eye protection, instead of having his right orbital bone broken in 3 places, he might have just lost the eye completely.
Right.
And I forget if I included it in the intro video, but I know Scott does in his video. The chamber pressure for a 50 BMG is 50,000 psi. And when he talked to Mark Serbu of Serbu Firearms, asking what sort of pressure would it take to shear those threads out and send that end cap rocketing back at him, Mark replied, at minimum, 80,000 psi of pressure to get that end cap to shear off.
That round was severely overcharged. Had to have been.
And not to mention, too, again, this is something that Scott mentions in his video, and I cannot stress enough to go and check out his video to get all the information. We witnessed how the 2/3 of the gun end up going butt over tea kettle on it and flying off the table. That 2/3 of that gun weighs approximately 20 to 23 pounds.
Whew.
I honestly think Scott would have had a better chance holding a stick of dynamite in his hands.
Yeah.
It strikes me in awe that he's still walking on this earth. But I'm thankful every day that he's still with us. I don't know the guy personally, but from what I can tell, he seems like quite the stand-up guy, quite the stand-up father and husband. And it's great that he's still with us.
Absolutely. You know, things like this do happen. The majority of people are not lucky. Some people occasionally do get lucky. The moral of this whole EDC How and Why, from my take on what Griff had presented for us, was valuing your time. And once again, that goes back to enjoy the moment. You never know how long you have. But do it safely, do it cautiously. Don't put yourself in a bad situation, and make the most of what you have and be grateful for what you have even after you lose. So with that, we're going to call this the end of the show. Thank you guys. We'll catch you on the next one.
Take care.